I think all of that prepared me for losing my granddaughter, which would come much, much, much later.
Collin Raye wasn't just another country star. He was the voice of the 90s. His story didn't end at fame. It continued and told the life of a man living for his music and his family. When his beloved granddaughter was diagnosed of a life-threatening ailment, Raye fell from country star to broken-hearted grandfather, but it didn't end there. Haley's grandfather in the spotlight.
I think we all need guidelines, and we all need a standard to live up to.
Before the world saw Collin Raye as a country star with a clear, beautiful voice, his family knew him simply as Papa. That was the name his little granddaughter, Haley Bell, called him. And for Collin, that name meant more than any award he had ever received. Haley was soft-spoken, sweet, and full of light. She loved to smile. She loved to be held. And from the moment she came into the world, she captured Collin's heart completely. But life had a difficult plan for her. When Haley was still very young, doctors discovered something frightening. She had a rare and severe neurological condition. It affected her muscles, her breathing, her development, and even the simplest movements. Her condition was not one of the well-known disorders. It was complicated, tiny, and cruel. It caused sudden medical emergencies, sleepless nights, and long hospital stays. Her parents and grandparents lived in a world of constant worry and constant love. For Collin, this was the moment everything changed. Fame could wait. Music could wait. The road, the concerts, the bright lights, none of it mattered more than the tiny girl who needed him. So he made a quiet, powerful choice. He placed his career second and his family first. In interviews, Collin later explained how helpless he often felt. As a singer, he had spent years solving problems with practice, planning, and hard work. But with Haley's illness, hard work wasn't enough. He couldn't sing her pain away. He couldn't fix the machines that helped her breathe. All he could do was hold her hand, stay close, and offer the comfort of a grandfather's warmth. That closeness changed him. During this time, fans noticed something different in his performances. Collin had always been emotional, but now his voice carried a deeper ache, a mixture of love, fear, and hope. When he walked onto a stage, he carried Haley with him. When he sang ballads, he sang like a man praying through music. His tenderness grew sharper, his quiet moments grew heavier, and audiences felt that. They felt the weight of a grandfather fighting a battle he could not control. As Haley's condition worsened, Collin spoke about her more publicly. He wasn't seeking attention, he was seeking understanding, hoping people would learn about families dealing with complex medical challenges. He hoped to raise awareness for children with severe neurological problems and highlight the emotional and financial struggles their families face. He appeared at charity events, fundraisers, and interviews where he described the long nights, the emergency hospital, visits, and the courage of a child who could not speak but could teach the world about strength. Whenever he talked about Haley, his voice softened. People described how Collin, known for his gentle singing, became even more careful and thoughtful when speaking about her. He would smile, then struggle, then smile again. Love and heartbreak lived side by side in every word. Some nights, Collin performed with tears in his eyes. He would tell the crowd that if his voice cracked, it wasn't because he was tired, it was because he was thinking about her. People in the audience cried with him. They held hands, they prayed. They sent letters saying they finally understood what it meant to love someone through pain. Haley's fight lasted years. Years of courage, years of uncertainty, years of learning how fragile life could be and how powerful love truly was. Collin watched her go through medical tests, seizures, surgeries, and long battles that would have overwhelmed even grown adults. But she fought silently, bravely, with a kind of strength that inspired everyone around her. This long struggle reshaped Collin as both a man and an artist. As a man, it made him gentler and more protective. It made him more thankful for the small moments, like holding Haley's hand or hearing her soft breathing in a quiet room. It taught him patience. It taught him grief. It taught him the deepest meaning of love. As an artist, it transformed his purpose. Music was no longer just a career. It became a way to honor her, a way to express feelings that words alone could not carry. His songs grew more personal, more spiritual, more vulnerable. He performed differently, not for applause, but for expression, not for charts, but for healing. During Haley's illness, Collin also strengthened his advocacy work. His involvement with groups like the Terry Schiavo Life and Hope Network deepened. He spoke about the dignity of children like Haley, who require constant medical care and who are often overlooked by society. He stressed that their lives were meaningful, important, and deserving of protection. His voice became not only a tool for singing, but a tool for defending life. Fans who followed his journey saw the transformation clearly. The man once known primarily for chart-topping love songs had become something more. A storyteller shaped by sorrow, hope, faith, and fierce family devotion. His music gained new layers because his life gained new layers. Through every hospital stay, every emergency, and every quiet night by her bedside, Collin remained steady. He held on to faith, he held on to family, and most of all, he held on to Haley. The world watched a grandfather become a warrior in his own gentle way. He didn't fight with anger or noise. He fought with love, with presence, with patience, and with a voice that carried every emotion he felt. Haley's fight became his fight. Her courage became his courage. Her story became his inspiration. And though her illness was painful and long, the love it awakened in Collin was even stronger. The man behind the music. When people first met Collin Raye through his music, many of them thought his life must have been easy. His voice sounded so calm, so steady, so pure, that it was easy to imagine him living in a world where every path was smooth. But behind that gentle sound was a man who faced pressures, changes, losses, and quiet battles that most fans did not see. His story was not a straight line upward. It was a journey full of twists, surprises, and moments that demanded courage. After the huge success of songs like Love, Me, In This Life, and Little Rock, the music industry placed Collin high on its list of most important voices. He received multiple nominations for Male Vocalist of the Year from the Country Music Association and the Academy of Country Music. For a while, it seemed like everything he touched turned into a hit. His face appeared on magazine covers. His songs stayed on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart week after week, and his albums went gold and platinum. As the 1990s moved forward, the world of country music began to change. Radio stations started searching for new styles, faster beats, younger voices, and songs that leaned more toward pop than classic storytelling. The spotlight moved quickly, and sometimes it moved away from artists who had once been at the center of everything. Collin felt that shift. One year, he was everywhere. The next, the industry seemed to drift in another direction. For the first time in a long while, Collin felt the quiet worry that all artists face. What if the world doesn't want me anymore? What if my kind of music is no longer the kind people listen to? This wasn't because his voice changed. It wasn't because his talent faded. It was simply the nature of the industry. Tastes change like seasons, and even the brightest stars get covered by clouds. During this period, Collin didn't complain. Instead, he looked inward. Instead of chasing trends, he made a brave decision. He would stay true to the kind of music that had always come from his heart. He kept recording albums, even if they didn't receive the same wide attention as before. He continued touring, meeting fans, signing autographs, and performing with the same sincerity he had carried since his earliest days. But Collin was never just a singer. He was a man driven by deep values, faith, empathy, and a strong desire to help people in pain. When the spotlight softened, these parts of him grew even stronger. One of the biggest areas where Collin found new purpose was advocacy. After experiencing personal heartbreak in his family, he became deeply involved in raising awareness for children with disabilities and severe medical needs. He worked with organizations connected to families navigating difficult health challenges. He also used his voice publicly through speeches, events, and performances to support causes related to life, dignity, and care for vulnerable people. Collin also became an ambassador for the Terry Schiavo Life and Hope Network, a group that works to protect the rights of medically fragile individuals. Through this role, he performed at charity events, spoke about compassion, and shared personal experiences that shaped his beliefs. Many fans were surprised to learn how strong and expressive Collin was outside of music. He stood firmly for his faith, his family values, and his belief in caring for people who could not speak for themselves. Some people agreed with him, some did not, but no one doubted that his heart was sincere. As the years passed, Collin realized that reinvention didn't always mean changing yourself. It could mean deepening yourself. So, that is what he did. He explored new musical styles while still keeping his signature emotional storytelling. He recorded inspirational songs, spiritual pieces, and even a full album celebrating the music of Glenn Campbell, one of his heroes. Even without constant radio play, his concerts remained full of people who had grown up with his music or found comfort in his lyrics during hard times. Fans brought old CDs and photos for him to sign. They stood in long lines just to share a story about how one of his songs helped them during grief, heartbreak, or recovery. Collin listened to every word. Those moments mattered deeply to him. They reminded him that music is not measured only by awards or chart numbers. It is measured by the hearts it touches, and Collin's music had touched millions. Behind the scenes, Collin kept writing, recording, and performing because he believed that art doesn't disappear just because the world becomes noisy. He believed that gentle voices still matter. His career became a symbol of endurance. Not loud endurance, but quiet perseverance. He continued releasing albums through the 2000s, appearing at festivals, benefit concerts, fairs, and theaters. Sometimes he sang with big orchestras. Sometimes he sang with only a guitar. No matter the stage, he sang with honesty. The man behind the music was not only a star, he was a survivor, a believer, a father, a grandfather, a storyteller, a man who carried both triumph and sorrow in his voice. His setbacks did not break him, they shaped him. His fame did not define him, his heart did. Collin Raye's journey through success, setbacks, and reinvention was not the journey of a fading star. It was the journey of a man who learned to shine in different ways. It showed that true artists don't disappear, they evolve, they grow. An honest voice. Collin Raye did not become a country star overnight. His rise was slow, steady, and filled with the kind of small victories and quiet disappointments that shape a true performer. Long before the bright lights, long before anyone knew his name, he was simply a young man with a voice that felt too powerful to stay in one place. People around him noticed it. They heard something special, something warm and honest, something that carried feelings the way a river carries water. Even Collin himself could tell that his voice wanted more room to grow. In those early years, Collin wasn't standing alone. He had his older brother by his side, and together they formed a country band that would become the beginning point of their journey. The group went through a few small changes, but they eventually became known as the Raye Brothers Band. They sang, they traveled, and they worked hard, even when the rooms were nearly empty and the paychecks were small. Every time they stepped into a smoky bar or a crowded lounge, they brought their whole hearts with them. It didn't matter if the audience had 10 people or 100, they sang like it mattered. The brothers toured across the west and southwest of the United States, going from town to town, hoping to catch the ear of someone who could help them move forward. Even though the Raye Brothers Band gained regional attention, it soon became clear that the real spark inside that group was Collin's voice. People who heard him sing often said things like, "That boy is going somewhere," or "His voice is too big for this little place." These words pushed him gently but firmly towards something larger. Collin enjoyed performing with his brother, but deep inside, he began to feel a tug, a quiet whisper telling him there was more waiting for him.
He and my mom taught me how to sing harmony and stuff. So I mean, we've been playing music since we were kids.
The shift toward a solo career didn't happen all at once. It began with encouragement from friends and industry people who told him he had the talent to carry his own name. It also came from the growing understanding that his voice had a quality that listeners connected to deeply. He didn't just sing notes, he told stories. He made people feel something: sadness, hope, longing, comfort. His gift wasn't loud or showy, it was honest. Eventually, Collin decided to take a brave step. He would try to make it on his own. The decision was frightening, but it was also exciting. He had spent years sharpening his skills, learning the business, and understanding what listeners wanted to feel. Now, he was ready to try his hand as a solo artist. The path wasn't smooth. Nashville was the heart of country music at the time, and it was filled with dreamers just like him. Every corner, every hallway, every studio, had someone hoping to become the next big star. Collin knew the odds were against him, but he also knew that his voice was his strongest tool. He trusted it. He trusted the years of work behind it, and he trusted the feeling that this was the right time. When he finally got the chance to record music under his own name, he treated it with deep care. He chose songs that meant something, songs that sounded like the life he knew. Simple, emotional, full of both joy and pain. He didn't try to be flashy or to copy other singers. He leaned into who he naturally was, kind and true. Then came the moment that changed everything. Collin released a song called Love Me, a gentle ballad about a grandfather leaving a note for his sweetheart. The song was tender and full of feeling, the kind of song that made people stop whatever they were doing and just listen. When it played on the radio, people called their stations and asked for it again. Some cried, some shared memories of their own loved ones. The song didn't just enter the country charts, it touched people's hearts as well. Love Me became Collin Raye's first major hit. In fact, it reached the #1 spot on the Billboard country chart. Suddenly, the boy who once sang in small bars was on television, on magazine covers, and on stages that stretched far beyond anything he had ever imagined. His voice, once confined to tiny rooms, now reached millions. From that moment forward, Collin's rise was steady and bright. He became known for songs that carried emotion with clarity and gentleness. He didn't rely on gimmicks or showy tricks. Instead, he sang the truth in a way listeners understood instantly. His albums went platinum. His songs continued to climb the charts. Fans saw him not just as a singer, but as someone who understood real life, along with its happiness, its heartbreak, its quiet moments of hope. Through it all, Collin never forgot the long road he had walked. Every big stage reminded him of the small ones that came before. Every cheering crowd reminded him of the nights when only a few people clapped. And every success reminded him of the day he finally listened to the tiny voice inside him whispering, "Your voice is too big to stay here." The whispers were true, and even Raye was not prepared for what was to come. Star in the country. When Collin Raye finally stepped out on his own, he did it with quiet bravery. He wasn't trying to take over the world. He wasn't trying to become the biggest country singer of the 1990s. He simply wanted to make music that felt honest. Honesty is powerful. It moves mountains. And that is exactly what happened when Collin stepped into his solo career. At first, the music world didn't know what to make of him. Collin didn't look flashy, he didn't act wild, and he didn't come with a big team behind him. He just had a voice, steady, smooth, and filled with more feeling than most people were used to hearing. When he sang, it sounded like someone telling you the truth gently, like a soft hand on your shoulder. That voice was the reason he got his first real shot. In 1991, Collin released his first solo album, All I Can Be. It was his introduction to the world, not with shouting or fireworks, but with a calm confidence. The album carried stories written in simple words, but deep with emotion. It was the kind of music that didn't push you, it invited you, slowly, kindly. And then came the song that changed everything. That song was Love Me. Love Me was extraordinary. It climbed the charts higher and higher until it reached #1 on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart. Suddenly, Collin Raye was no longer just a man with a good voice. He was a country star. The rise was fast, almost shocking. One day he was performing on small stages. The next, he was standing in front of thousands of fans who knew every word he sang. His album, All I Can Be, went platinum. The world finally saw what those little clubs and small-town audiences had known for years. Collin Raye had a gift, but his success wasn't luck. It wasn't an accident. It was the result of a style that felt different from other country singers at the time. Collin didn't bark or belt. He didn't rely on heavy twang. His voice was clean and clear, carrying each line with tenderness. Critics called it crystal tone. Fans called it beautiful. Collin simply called it singing. After Love Me, the hits kept coming. Collin followed it with songs that each carried their own stories. Stories of love, heartbreak, hope, mistakes, forgiveness, and the quiet moments that shape human life. One of these songs was In This Life, a tender promise of devotion that became another major hit. It floated across radio stations, wedding halls, school dances, and the hearts of people who needed something gentle to hold on to. Then came Little Rock, a brave song about addiction and recovery. It showed another side of Collin. He wasn't afraid to sing about real struggles, the ones people whispered about but rarely admitted publicly. Many listeners said the song helped them, comforted them, or even pushed them toward healing. Music like that doesn't fade. It settles inside people. Collin wasn't done. With time, hit after hit followed. Someone You Used to Know, On the Verge, and the iconic My Kind of Girl. Collin's face and voice became familiar across America. The 1990s country scene was crowded with great artists, but few had his gentle emotional power. He wasn't loud or proud. He was warm and strong, and listeners loved him for it. As the decade moved on, Collin began receiving recognition from the industry. He earned multiple nominations from the Country Music Association, including Male Vocalist of the Year, which he won more than once. He was nominated by the Academy of Country Music as well. Even major award shows could feel what fans already knew. Collin Raye was one of the most emotional storytellers in country music. His albums continued to reach platinum and gold status, concert halls filled. Fans lined up for autographs, hugs, and stories. Sometimes people told him how his music helped them through painful times, breakups, losses, lonely nights. Sometimes they told him his songs played during their happiest moments, like weddings, celebrations, the birth of a child. Collin listened with gratitude every time. What made his ascent special wasn't just his success. It was the way he carried himself through it. Fame did not harden him. The bright lights didn't change him. He still seemed like the soft-spoken man who once stood on tiny stages singing for rooms that barely noticed him. Only now, millions were listening. By the mid-90s, Collin Raye had become one of the defining voices of country music. Not because he was the loudest, not because he was the boldest, but because he sang with a purity that made people feel safe. His music didn't just entertain, it comforted, it made listeners feel seen. It reminded them that every emotion mattered, even the ones we hate to embrace. This lesson wasn't just for fans, it was for Raye too. Grief, grace, and goodbye. When Haley finally slipped away in 2010, the world did not hear a loud crash or any great booming sound. Instead, something quieter happened, almost like a candle going out, leaving a whole room in darkness, and in the center of that room stood her grandfather, Collin Raye, a man whose voice had once soared across radios and concert halls, now struggling to understand a silence he could not fix. For years he had been strong for her, for years he had hoped. When hope broke, something inside him broke too. To many people watching from the outside, the big question became simple but heavy. What the hell happened to Collin Raye? This wasn't a rude question. It was a worried one because Collin had once been everywhere. On charts, on award shows, on big tours. And then suddenly, his spotlight dimmed. The truth is that love changed his priorities, and loss changed his life. After Haley's passing, Collin didn't roar back into fame like some artists do after tragedy. Instead, he took time to breathe again, step by step. He had lived so long with fear, hospital visits, whispered prayers, and helplessness that the quiet after her death felt strange and painful. It wasn't the peaceful kind of quiet. It was the heavy kind, the one that wraps around you and makes everything else feel far away. Collin mourned not only the little girl he adored, but also the years he wished he could rewrite. Years where he tried everything, yet nothing was ever enough. Still, even in sorrow, music waited for him. It always had. Music had followed him from his first days on stage, through his biggest hits, through the storms of the industry, and through Haley's long illness. And now, in his grief, it became the only thing that could help him speak when words felt too hard. That was when he wrote She's With Me, a tender song shaped like a love letter, a lullaby, and a goodbye all at once. She's With Me was not meant to impress the world. It was meant to ease a wound. In the song, Collin poured all the years of carrying Haley, both literally when she was small and fragile, and emotionally when hope was all the family had left. He told the world how proud he was to be her grandfather. He sang about her strength, her sweetness, and how even though she needed help, she also gave him courage. Anyone who listened could hear the ache in his voice. It was one of those songs where you didn't just hear the music, you felt the story. After releasing it, Collin didn't rush back into big fame. He didn't chase awards or trends. Instead, he lived more quietly, turning his focus to faith, family, and the simple peace he had been searching for. He performed when he felt ready. He toured small venues, church gatherings, and special concerts where his voice could still reach people who needed comfort. And the surprising thing was this: even without the bright spark of 90s stardom, his music still mattered deeply to fans. They didn't just come for the hits, they came for the heart behind them. Collin also continued to speak about Hayley whenever he felt strong enough, not as a sad story, but as a gift. He believed that her short life, filled with battles no child should ever have to face, had changed him forever. She taught him patience, she taught him tenderness, she taught him that love can be fierce and fragile at the same time. And she taught him that the world is not always fair, but it can always be softened by compassion. These lessons shaped how he wrote, how he performed, and how he treated people who came to meet him. In interviews, he often explained that Hayley was his reminder that life is bigger than fame, bigger than stages, bigger than awards. She was the reason he shifted from chasing radio hits to using his voice for what mattered more: comfort, hope, and honesty. Even when he sang old favorites like Love Me or Little Rock, he carried a new kind of gentleness that came only from surviving something unbearable. Some fans expected Collin to return to the spotlight exactly the way he left it, but life rarely allows that. Instead, what happened to him was something more meaningful. He grew into a man who understood loss deeply and used that understanding to touch others. He sang at charity events. He supported causes that helped children and families in crisis. He leaned into his faith more openly, and he found a steadier rhythm in his life, one not driven by chart numbers or industry pressure. With time, people began to see that Collin Raye hadn't vanished, he had simply changed. And in many ways, he had become even more human, more relatable, more tender than before. Yes, he still performs. Yes, he still records. Yes, he still steps onto a stage with that familiar, calm confidence. But his legacy is no longer only about being a country star of the 90s. It is about being a grandfather whose greatest love became his greatest heartbreak, and whose heartbreak became a song that continues to heal others. So, what the hell happened to Collin Raye? Life happened, love happened, loss happened. And through it all, he learned how to keep singing, not to stay famous, but to stay whole. Hayley's memory lives in his music, in his voice, and in every listener who finds comfort in the stories he tells. The man who once climbed the charts now climbs something quieter but deeper, a journey of faith, healing, and remembering a little girl who taught him how to love without fear.